Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rural Life Health Show. I'm here with my friend Joseph from Gratitude Garden Farms, and absolutely an amazing man. And he got diagnosed with cancer at a young age, and we're going to have a discussion today about his transition and a lot of things he's learned about the raw food diet, the fruitarian diet, and just being happy and healthy and recovering from disease. So this interview is not only for people that have been diagnosed for cancer, but I do believe people who suffering or have a loved one who's suffering would help them tremendously. But it's also for people that are eating any particular diet. This interview is going to help them a lot. So here's the interview. I'm going to flip the camera around and interview with Joseph right now. So here we go. But Joseph, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So you have a pretty amazing healing story. So I want to hear your healing story and where you're at now, how many years later it is. So you grew up in where?
Grew up in England, in London. Originally Lebanese, but I grew up in England. Moved to the U.S. when I was 16. Went to boarding school. Came to Florida when I was 18. Did my undergrad and grad here, and I got. So I've been here for about 30 years now.
And how old are you now?
I'm 46.
46. So when you were younger, you were healthy growing up as a teenager or so?
Yeah, I was always into sports. I was very athletic on soccer team, tennis teams. So I played sport all the time. But when I was 30, I believe I was 32, 33, I got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
What kind of cancer was it?
Colon and liver.
Colon and liver?
Yeah.
And how did you
lymph
find
nodes.
out? Were you having symptoms, or was it just how did you find out?
Blood when I was in the bathroom. Yeah, number 2.
So you had some blood when you were going to the bathroom. How long did that last for?
A couple months, and I would tell my dad was a doctor. He's a medical doctor, so he was like, you need to get that checked out. Get it checked out. So I went like to 3 different doctors, and the first 2 were like, nothing. You're young. It's nothing. They didn't see anything. They're like, yeah, it's probably just hemorrhoids. You're good. Don't worry about it. You're too young to have anything like that. And it kept happening, and then my dad goes, go get another opinion. So I went, and one guy, and he looked a little bit closer, and he noticed something, and then he took me in for a colonoscopy a couple days later, and then they found a big tumor in there. So, yeah.
So besides the blood in your stool, did you have any other symptoms?
No, I felt fine.
You felt fine. So what's the first thing they told you to do when you found out?
Everybody knows this. I mean, they're going to rush you, scare you, rush you straight into chemo and radiation, operations and everything. But, I didn't, I don't know why, but I wasn't super concerned. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. It should have been, but I wasn't. I don't know why.
Did they say you have like 6 months to live or something like that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They sure did.
And so did you do the surgery?
Yeah, I did. My dad, my uncles, they're all medical people. My mom was more into Ayurveda and yoga and yoga therapy, and she's more into the other side of the spectrum. So she doesn't really believe in doing all that stuff, but she was behind me no matter what I decided to do. And so I went through conventional treatment to begin with. Yes.
So surgery.
I did surgery, radiation, and chemo.
For how long?
About a year.
A year. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I had a bag on my stomach for a year. So that will wake you up. So I did that for a year, but then they managed to reconnect me because I had hit a plateau where I was done taking any more medication. I said I can't do any more because I just didn't feel like I would make it anymore. I dodged too many bullets, and eventually I'm gonna get clipped, and I didn't want to. I wasn't ready to go. So I figured if I was gonna go, and I am meant to leave here, then I will leave here at a different time, but not in this hospital. And that's what I decided to do because I didn't know if I would make it out or not, but I had too many close calls in the hospital where I just was like, listen, I'm done. You know, like I'd rather just go home, and if I get better, great. If I don't, I don't.
What do you mean close calls?
Almost died multiple times. You know, I had infection from one of my operations. I had my intestine twisted from one of the chemo after one of the chemo sessions. They couldn't operate on me because I had taken a drug that makes me hemorrhage if they cut me. So they couldn't even cut me to open up my intestine. And that was a close call. You know, I had a tube down my throat for a couple of days. I mean, wasn't a pleasant experience. But I had a couple close calls where they didn't know, it was a touch and go whether or not I was going to make it out of the hospital. So, you know, how many of those are you going to dodge before
Sure.
one gets you? You know.
And so how was your diet before getting diagnosed?
Pretty bad. I mean, I wouldn't say bad in regards to. I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like I wasn't eating burgers. I wasn't eating McDonald's every day, but I did love meat. I was eating meat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I didn't even know what a vegetable looked like, barely. So I definitely was a heavy meat eater, and more importantly, I wasn't going to the bathroom on a regular basis. I was going every couple of days, 3-4 days, you know, which I thought was normal because I did that my whole life. But I come to find out that's not normal, and especially if you're eating veggies or fruit, it's not a big deal. But if you're eating meat and it's putrefying in your intestine, you know, and you know how clean is the meat, you know, all that stuff. So, I think that was part of why I got it, but I know a lot of people that eat lots of meat and don't get anything. So, you know, it's why, you know, why does this happen? You know, so that's the magical question. So there's a lot of different reasons for that. I believe mine was more emotional than physical because I was in good shape. I wasn't obese. I wasn't fat. I was athletic. I was young. No reason why I should be getting a stage 4 colon cancer at 32. No reason whatsoever. So, you know, what's the reasoning? You know, so there's definitely emotional aspects at that time. When your body goes into fight or flight, you know, if you're very stressed or you've had something traumatic happen, the body goes into fight or flight. You know, it doesn't heal itself like it normally does. And when you prolong that over a year, 2 years, then all of a sudden you see tumors start popping up because your body's not taking care of them like it does on a daily basis when you're healthy. So, but you don't realize that you're in fight or flight, and your body doesn't recognize the difference between being stressed at work or being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. It doesn't know. It's putting you in fight or flight. So that, I think, is one of the most important aspects of degenerative disease, especially with cancers, in my opinion, is everyone that has it is in fight or flight. So first thing you gotta do before anything works is eliminate that fight or flight. Change your life around. If it's a bad marriage, you need to get out of it. If it's a bad job, get out of it. If it's whatever it may be, you gotta deal with whatever that issue is. And there are techniques and different people to help guide you through that and get you out of those. Mine was pretty easy. I was an open book. It was just like, oh, this is the problem. Ping. Didn't bother me anymore. So I went to someone at Hippocrates that helped me with that. It only took me 1 session. Some people it's going to take 5-6 sessions. Some people it's going to take longer. So I don't know. It just depends on how willing you are to open up on that.
So you were in the hospital, going in, doing their therapies for about a year.
Yeah.
Decided that you weren't in the hospital for a year. You were going in and out of the hospital.
In and out. Yeah.
But then you decided this isn't for me. So what happened when you told your doctor you're not coming back to the hospital?
Well, we did a PET scan, and this is where there was a lot of controversy because I have multiple doctors treating me at the same time. My oncologist, when he saw the PET scan, it lit up everywhere. And he was like, oh, no, we need to get back. We have to start doing chemo again. We're going to be doing this. We have to do this. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. So he was losing it. He was like, oh, I don't recommend. That's a terrible idea. But, he didn't want me to stop chemo, obviously. My colorectal surgeon, he goes, well, it doesn't necessarily, he's had a lot of trauma in that area. It could just be lighting up the PET scan because of that. We don't know, I really didn't care either way. I was out. I was done. So there was a little bit of controversy at the point where, like, how bad was I when I left? But my last PET scan before I left the hospital would ping, 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 lit up everywhere. I didn't go in to do any more biopsies to cut me open again. I wasn't doing that anymore. I've been there, done that. I gave it a year. If it didn't work, it didn't work. I'm moving on to something else, you know. So I was still alive, so I made it out alive. And then I stopped completely. I never went back to the hospital again. I left that hospital the day that I was in the emergency room, and I promised myself that day, if I got out of the hospital, I will never go back here. Never went back.
So what'd you do from there?
I promised my mom when I was doing chemo and all that stuff. She goes, "Promise me that when you're done, you'll go detox." So I was like, "Okay, I promise I'll go do it." So after I was finished, she goes, "Okay, now you're done with all that. You're not gonna take any more chemo or anything. You need to go you need to go detox your body." So I went to Hippocrates, and that's how I went to Hippocrates. I went to Hippocrates in end of 2009, 2010.
So when you got out of the hospital, how long did it take you to go to Hippocrates or find Hippocrates?
Well, I had already started switching my diet to a more vegetarian diet, not all raw, but vegetarian, vegan. And so when I got to Hippocrates, I wasn't like straight from standard American diet to 100% raw foods right off the bat. So I had a little bit of leeway before I went into it, which was helpful. So it wasn't long at all. It was a couple weeks.
And how long what was your impression of Hippocrates when you went there?
When I first went there, I was, I thought it was just people going to detox, and then I realized half the people in there had worse cancers than me. I was like, what is this place? Why are people, so I didn't really realize that people were going there for more than just a detox. So that was interesting, and I like the fact that it was, you're in groups with people that are in your same boat. Like when they first get there, they look like they're dead. You look at these people, you're like, oh, these people are. And then by the 3 weeks, after the 3 weeks, they've got hope in their eyes, and that's something powerful, man. I mean, when you see somebody that has no hope because they're a victim of their situation, and now they're just a patient, and if you're a patient, you're a victim. So once you become a patient, you're just at the mercy of your doctors. But when you go there and you start to educate yourself, it opens up a new avenue that you didn't know was possible. For now, you come out from victim mode to I'm taking control over my life, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get out of this, even if it's not mainstream. I've seen, what one man can do, another man can do. So if you see somebody that can heal himself, then I can do it. If that guy can do it, I can do it. So I started meeting people that were healing themselves. I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. And then that's just how my mindset was from that point on. And then it was just blinders on, 100% raw for 3 years. I grew my own food, my own sprouts. I created a couple raised beds in my backyard. It started off with 3, then 4, then 5. Then I had 20 raised beds, back, front, side of the house. Inside my house, I had one of my bedrooms into a gym and a sauna, and my other room was a sprout room. It was just me and my wife. We had a 3-bedroom house, so 2 of the rooms were, gym and sprout room. And that's how my life was for about 3 years, and it was like a full-time job. Juicing every day, doing growing my wheatgrass, juicing my wheatgrass, my green juices, harvesting my veggies, my salads. I mean, my salads would take an hour to eat because they were huge. So we've all been there. People that raw foodists that have been raw foodists for a while, sat there for an hour chewing.
And when you were doing that, you weren't doing. I know Hippocrates, when people are healing from certain illnesses, they recommend no fruit.
Yes.
So in those 3 years, were you doing some fruit or no fruit?
No, I was 100% disciplined.
Okay.
Blinders on.
At that time, you didn't go back to the doctor. So did you know you were getting better? Did you just feel better?
I did go and take some MRIs from a guy that uses. I didn't take any PET scans. I didn't want to get radiated. I'm doing all this hard work. I don't want to get radiated. So I was doing MRIs. And they were coming out clean. I was also doing CA19 markers, CA9 markers, colon cancer markers, and they were super low. My mom, she just passed away from the same cancer that I had. Her markers were through the roof. So yeah, I was, with my lifestyle and my mindset, it was different. Yeah, it was definitely different.
Now, so your mom told you to undergo detox, and you said she was of that natural spectrum as well.
Yes.
So did this cancer run in your family, you think, or because?
At first, we didn't think so because my mom and dad didn't have it. But then my mom had it in her. I guess she had it, but we didn't know. And but I think it personally. I think it was emotional. My mom's, I believe, is 100% emotional because she's a healthy woman. She does yoga, meditation. She's been a vegetarian for most, pretty much her whole life. There's no reason why she should have gotten what she got either. And the reason why she got it is because she was trapped in her own life. And when one common denominator I see, because I speak to a lot of people that have cancers, late stage cancers, pretty much all of them feel trapped in their life. They're in a situation in their life they can't get out. They're trapped. So they ask for a way out. And then they're given a way out. It may not be what you want, but that's your way out. So you gotta take that and change that mindset. So with my mom, she had, she was just becoming an artist. She was becoming an artist. She started painting. She was having a love of painting. But then my brother got really ill. And she had to be his caregiver 24/7. So now she's trapped in her own home, looking after her son again, who's fully grown. So that's tough. Then her best friend dies of cancer, and then her mother gets senile that she has to help look after. So she has 3 huge traumatic things happening all at the same time.
Was your brother's illness cancer or no?
No,
Okay,
it's more of a mental
So
thing.
So you go to Hippocrates, you're eating the way you're eating, you're feeling better.
Yeah.
So, what made you decide, I'm not going to do this the rest of my life, I'm going to switch it up a little?
I felt like I hit a plateau with my detoxing. I felt like I could only go too far. I was gassy all the time from eating raw veggies, and I don't want to get into any debates here because I don't go there anymore because I'm not trying to prove a point with anything. I have my own opinion, and my opinion is that we are more frugivores than we are cows. So it's just my own personal opinion. It's just from eating fruit and eating veggies, eating raw veggies on a consistent basis was harder for me to break down in my stomach. And then alkaline waters, alkaline juices, alkaline. My stomach acids are now completely diluted, and every time I try to eat anything, I can't break it down because my stomach acid, everything is alkaline. Everything I'm eating and putting in my body is alkaline. So, it was great, but then, I felt like my digestion was, you have to pop enzymes to digest your food. That shouldn't be the case. So I had some issues with that. And I wanted to kind of move on from there and maybe incorporate some other foods in. So I found another doctor on the west coast of Florida called Dr. Robert Morse. I'm sure you probably know of him. He's more of a fruitarian doctor. He believes that you detox a lot better on fruit and herbs. It's still raw foods, but it's fruit. So, Brian from Hippocrates obviously doesn't like the fruit because he believes it feeds cancer. I don't believe it necessarily feeds cancer. I believe that if you're eating fruit with fat, then it can spike in insulin resistance. So if you're eating high fruit, then you have to eat about half a avocado a day and not more. If you're eating a crap load of oils on your salads and all this fat and then pounding food all day and you're wondering why you have candida and your insulin's spiking, that's why. So I think maybe that's why Brian says it, or maybe he just didn't know. I don't know, but that's what I learned from that side because I went fruitarian for 3 years after that. If that caused cancer, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So I went 3 years every day eating high amounts of fruit, and I'm still here. So
100% fruit.
I wouldn't say 100, but it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner was a salad. So it was basically very high fruit. I would just do watermelon smoothies all day, really, in the heat. When I'm working in the heat, I throw in a cayenne pepper. I get a big watermelon, put it in the walk-in cooler, get it nice and cold, scoop it out, put it in the Vitamix, throw a cayenne pepper in it, blend it up. Amazing to drink that all day in the farm. It's wonderful.
And then you'd have a salad at night.
And then I would have a salad at night, but with no oils. That was the trick.
Would you eat nuts or avocado at all?
I would eat half an avocado a day. That's my fat limit. So that's the payoff. Payoff is, yes, you can do that, but you can't just pound a bunch of fat and eat all that fruit.
And going to Hippocrates, they had you on a lot of supplements.
Yes, lots of supplements.
So when you went to the Fruitarian Diet, did you stop the supplements?
I was doing herbal supplements from Dr. Morris, and if anyone that's ever done that protocol knows, those herbs are no joke. Those herbs will knock you out. They're strong.
Okay.
So I did that for about 2 years, but it was difficult because it would sap your energy a lot. They were very strong herbs. But I feel like I definitely hit different layers of detoxing. I would do mono fruit. I do grape for like 2 days, do watermelon for like a day or two, instead of mixed fruits, just do mono fruit. Those were good. Those were good. With the herbs, they were solid. I definitely felt like I got to another level. So a lot of things cleared up, skin issues cleared up. My lymphatic system is very sluggish. So when I was on the 100% fruit, my skin cleared up beautifully.
Did you have any nuts in the diet at all?
I mean, sometimes in the salads, but then I would substitute that for the avocado if I did that. I had to keep my fat content low, under 10% of total caloric intake. Had to be under that. Otherwise, I'm risking too much, in my opinion. I don't know. And most people won't touch fruit because they're scared. People in my situation wouldn't have anyone come near fruit, especially if you've been to Hippocrates for 3 years and lived like this. But you did too, and you kind of veered away a little bit from just straight that protocol. You eat fruit now, so it's a little different,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So are you saying if somebody's on a high fruit diet and they do more than 10% fat, or at least for yourself, that would have put you in danger?
That's what I don't know if it would put me in danger, but that's where the science, that's where the science comes in to play, that basically says, well, this is why fruit gets a bad rap. It gets a bad rap because it creates insulin resistance when you've got too much fat in your bloodstream. So you got to minimize that fat in your bloodstream so that the simple sugars can go straight into the cells. So that's what I was taught when I transitioned. It made sense to me. So that's why I didn't just jump in, willy-nilly. I researched it, and I said that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me that somebody eating organic fruit is going to kill themselves by eating organic fruit. It just didn't make any sense.
What about somebody that's eating a high fruit diet, but they eat a lot of coconut meat, let's say, or coconuts?
I don't know. I mean, listen, most people weren't in my situation.
Well, just in general now.
In general now, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. But if you've got the late stage cancer, I wouldn't be playing around like that. I would probably watch the fat content if you're going to be eating high fruit.
Wouldn't it make sense that if that's the ideal diet for healing, even if you're healthy for preventative, it would still be the best diet?
Yeah, but not necessarily for detoxing. Just because bananas are fruit, they're not the best detoxers, and neither are coconut meat. So they're good for you, but they're not necessarily detoxing foods. You want to go with grapes or watermelon or even citrus if you can get some ripe ones. But that's a little acidic, but it does pull on the lymphatics.
So after 2 years on the herbs and the Fruitarian Diet, you still continue to do another year of the Fruitarian Diet without the herbs?
Then I incorporated a little bit more. Then I started peppering a little bit of cooked food in also. So then I went, because now I've been raw like 6-7 years. I was wanting some cooked food here and there, a little bit, not too much. And it also brought me back down on the plane a little bit, because when you're eating 100% fruit, like high fruit, you barely in your body, like I sleeping like 3 hours a night and I'm bouncing off the walls, So yeah, I mean it's great for energy. I felt like energized all the time, which was great. But yeah, now I incorporate some cooked food, so I'm predominantly plant-based vegan still, but no longer raw. I still eat raw foods, but I'm not up there in 90-100% raw. Now I'd like to get back a little bit, because I've definitely gone a little off the wagon, fallen off the wagon a little bit. Not a lot. I mean, I'm still cleaner than 95%, 98% of the population, but still, for what level I was on, I've definitely laxed off a lot.
Since you went on the Hippocrates diet and then the Fruitarian diet,
Mhm.
you said prior to that, and you're diagnosed, you were going to the bathroom once every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Since you started changing your diet, did you start going every day?
Multiple times, yeah. At least, yeah, like a baby.
Okay.
After every meal.
And you still do?
Yeah, sometimes I can't finish my meal because they cut out a portion of my colon.
Yeah,
So now
that
it's like,
definitely makes it more complicated.
yeah, it's faster.
So you said that you were eating mostly fruits, and then in the evening you would have a salad.
Yeah.
And that's technically not a fruitarian diet.
No.
But there's different labels today. So my question to you is, what did you feel the significance of the salad was?
Grounded me a little bit. It brought me back down because the fruit, like you can detox very heavy, and I was trying to like balance that detox. I wasn't. Let me rephrase this. When I said fruitarian, I was on a detox diet. I wasn't on a fruitarian lifestyle. Two different things. I was trying to detox my body on another level. I wasn't trying to get on a long-term diet at this point. At this point, I was just trying to extra layers of detoxing and different herbs and really making sure this thing didn't come back to get me, because that's always in the back of your mind, and you just want to, especially when you slack off, so, and especially when you switch from Hippocrates to fruit, then you're like, did I do the wrong move? Did I do the wrong thing? So I was a little concerned about that a little bit, still a little bit, but.
When you were on the Hippocrates diet,
yeah.
How many hours of sleep did you need?
Normal. I mean, like
8 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't require that much sleep, but I would say 7 to 8. Yeah.
When you switched over to eating mostly fruit, a lot less.
Yeah.
So do you think the fat was the difference in your sleeping?
Yeah, I do. I think the heavy fat, but like if you don't have fat in that diet, you just wither away into nothing. And you have to do weight resistance on a Hippocrates diet, otherwise you wither away into nothing. Everyone that's gone on that diet knows. They know how their pants fit. They know they have to change their pants and all their clothes. Especially if you do it for 2-3 years, you will lose every bit of fat on your body if you do that diet. That's why you have to do weight resistance. If you do not, you will be skinny.
Well, how important do you think weight resistance is on a mostly fruitarian diet?
I mean, it's important also for sure, but more so on that Hippocrates diet, because you can bulk up on fruit diet. I mean, you can put on a little bit of mass on a fruit diet. On the raw fruit diet, and you're eating 12, 13, 14, 1500 calories, because your big salads aren't really very high caloric unless you're dousing it in fat, and that's the only real way. That's why nut cheeses. But I never felt good. I trained to be a raw food chef in California with Sherry Sori and that facility over there in Fort Bragg. I trained to be a raw chef, and I did all these raw food events, and I made raw foods, but that stuff wasn't healthy. It was just all nut based. It was heavy nuts, heavy cream, cheese. I'm just like, man, if I'm gonna do that, I mean, might as well eat regular food then. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's when I stopped with the gourmet raw foods, and I just started putting in raw salads and sprouts and things that made sense to me. Like, this is the reason why I'm doing this, not to try to make a fake lasagna and then cake it with, pounds of cheese. I think that's good
stuff. It's good transitional food to get away from the typical.
It is. I didn't have the luxury of having transition.
Yes.
I had to go hardcore
and it
right
also
away.
keeps people grounded. In the long run, if you're doing just salads every day.
But you can also do some steamed veggies for that, and that will ground you too. That's for me. When I ate heavy nut cheeses, I felt like I ate a McDonald's burger. That's what I felt like. I felt heavy, and when I ate like lots of nut cheese, you know what I'm talking about? Like if you've ever had like a raw pizza and they just coat it with nut cheeses, and it's heavy nut cheese, and the bread is all made from the crust is all made from nuts, and I mean, it's delicious, it's good, but man, it's super high caloric and rich.
When you were doing the fruitarian diet,
I didn't eat that stuff.
I know you didn't do that. But how much, when you were doing your watermelon smoothies or your watermelon juices, you were doing the grind as well in the watermelon?
Yeah. Okay. Seeds. I get seeded watermelon. I was scooping it out.
Seeded watermelon, scooping it out, so you weren't doing the grind.
I did do it a couple times on it, but if they weren't organic, I wasn't, because it's hard to find organic watermelons with seeds, but I found local ones with seeds. So
Would
I'd
you
scoop
do
it out.
unorganic watermelon in general?
Sorry?
Unorganic watermelon in general?
Watermelon I would. Other things I would not.
Now, I always thought, like I never used to care in the past, but now I start thinking watermelon would be one of the worst things to do non-organic because there's so much chemicals and it's so watery. Now, I personally have a change in my opinion about unorganic
Yeah,
watermelon.
I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I would honestly just prefer to grow them myself here,
Yeah.
but they take up so much room. So, I try to find the ones that are grown locally and that are not using heavy chemicals and stuff like that. Try to find them,
So, yeah, how much watermelon were you doing, though, when you did that?
I mean, it was usually during the daytime when it was super hot out, in the summer times when watermelon were plentiful, at certain times of the summer. I would do them there. And then during the winter, I would do whatever I could get hold of, but, grapes, do a lot of grape fasting, also different kinds of organic melons. We were able to get organic melons, don't get me wrong, but I would find the local ones with seeds, the long ones. I don't know if you've had those.
Oh, yeah.
Those are good. Those are good. So, I would grow those, and then sometimes I'll plant the seeds in here, and I'll get a couple watermelons from here too. But
I know it's possible to do too much of anything.
Yeah.
But if a person is keeping their fat below 10%,
Yeah.
do you think it's realistic that they can do too much fruit?
Yeah, I mean, I would incorporate it with some greens in the evening to get other amino acids in your body also. But yeah, I mean, fruit. I don't know if fruit is necessarily 100% fruit is a good long-term diet. I don't know. I mean, some people thrive on it. I haven't done it for that long to be able to give an opinion on that. But for me, like, I started to incorporate more foods. I started to feel a little bit better when I felt good on a fruitarian diet. Don't get me wrong, but mostly fruit, not 100% fruitarian. But when I started incorporating a little bit of greens in the evening, kept my fat content lower or away from fruit. So that's why I do fruit morning, afternoon, lunch, afternoon, and then in the evening I'd have my little avocado or a drizzle of oil, a tablespoon of oil in the evening, and that was it. And away from the fruit.
I guess my question is, do you think it's possible to do too much fruit? Like some people I hear they're eating fruit, like, I don't know, a couple of pieces of fruit a day, but other people you hear like a lot of fruit.
I think you have to be careful with certain fruits. I think that you need to be careful with citrus because pretty much all the citrus that you get is not picked right. So therefore, it's doing the opposite in your body, and it's pulling hard, but it's also creating, gout. You can get gout on your foot or on your hands, on your feet from eating unripe citrus. So pretty much all this, unless you have an orange tree on your and you picking it ripe, I would probably watch out for the citrus because it is super acidic and it doesn't turn alkaline in your body when you drink it because it's super acidic. It's been picked unripe.
From my experience, I have found that all store-bought fruit is picked unripe.
Yeah.
And we run into that same problem
Yeah.
with all store-bought fruit.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, bananas, you get away with it because they ripen.
But still, they're picked unripe. So
Yeah, they are picked unripe.
They're not developed the way they would be
if they're picked super unripe, yeah. But I mean, usually, like for us, for instance, if banana, the first one starts to turn yellow on the top, I whack the whole bunch because then the rest turn yellow within 4 or 5 days. So that's when
store-bought, they're not doing
store-bought. They're buying, they're whacking them in Honduras.
So 2 questions. So the first question is, do you think if somebody's growing their own fruit, there's no limit of how much they can eat?
Yeah, for the most part, if you're picking it ripe, yeah.
And do you think if somebody's doing store-bought fruit, they need to still limit it because of the issue of just unripe?
Yeah, I'll be more concerned about that. I mean, honestly, unless you can find a local fruit farm nearby, that's always first choice. Go to a local fruit farm, pay a little bit more, but get good organic fruit that hasn't been sprayed to high heaven. It was picked ripe. You're getting the benefit of eating it. Otherwise, think you're doing good, but you're actually just doing more harm than good.
Now, from a protein standpoint, you and I know that Hippocrates does a bunch of different sprouts and bean sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the nut potatoes and things like this could be too much fat.
Yeah.
what's your opinion about the bean sprouts? Do you think somebody eating a fruitarian diet with the bean sprouts covers a lot of the nutrients, or
Bean sprouts or sunflower sprouts?
the bean sprouts? You know,
The
their
monk
mung
beans.
beans and their lentil sprouts.
You mean the sprouts, not
Yeah,
the micros, right?
not the micros, the little bean sprouts.
I like those. They make me a little on the gassy side. Be honest with you. Even if you soak, you know, obviously I'm soaking them and draining them and I'm cleaning them and I'm doing all that stuff, but they make me a little bit gassy. It might be because my stomach weakened after being on raw veggies for 3-4 years, and it's just a lot of roughage that my body had to break down. So maybe that's the issue. But they do make me gassy, so I stay away from those. I prefer the microgreens. So the sunflower sprouts, pea shoots. If you put some in your juice, just do a green juice, you're good. Like, you don't really need to eat anything. Like, I would eat fruit all day and pound 2 or 3 green juices with sunflower sprouts and pea shoots in there. You're good. You got plenty of amino acids in there, in my opinion.
Now
I mean,
that 10% avocado or that 10% fat, and you'd say the best fat is avocado. You think?
that's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would
I
you
don't
say
like
that
the
is the
oils.
best fat for for somebody doing raw?
If you're doing, you mean if you're
Is
doing
soaked nuts just as good as avocado? You think?
I think
or-
avocado is good. I think for me, I prefer avocado. The soaked nuts, I had a hard time breaking them down
Yeah.
personally. After the first 6 months to a year, I was okay, but after like 2 or 3 years, my stomach started having a hard time breaking down those hot nut-based dishes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so where are you at now? So I know you said with your diet you're eating a good amount of raw, but you eat some cooked food. But what about supplements and
So-
how's your sleep now? Where are you at now?
Now I have my other obsession, which is my farm. So this farm is my baby now. So now my obsession is not into me as much as it was before. My obsession was just, okay, what am I taking? What am I, like now it's like, okay, it's my child now. So now I'm feeding my child constantly. So my farm is like, so my life has become developing this farm and manifesting the visions that I have created prior in order to get to where we are now, because that's what helped me get out was also my carrot. The carrot is something that inspires you, that gets you to, they dangle a carrot in front of you.
Your motivation.
Your
every day,
motivation,
yeah.
the reason for being here, because, I don't want to jump back too much on the cancer part, but, most people that get cancer, they're in a spot in their life where they're having a tough time. They don't like their life. They hate their life. They're going through some really bad times. And now all of a sudden they get slapped with a stage 4 cancer. They're looking up at this huge mountain that they have to climb. And then what's waiting for them at the top of that mountain? Their crappy life that they already got them sick in the first place. So that's why that full life change is super important, because if you don't switch your carrot, then you're not going to want to climb that mountain. And that's this place was my carrot.
Sure.
And my wife and my life here with my wife and creating what we're creating was my carrot to get me out of where I was.
So do you do supplements now?
I don't. I do the supplements. I do the mushroom extracts that we do. The liquid extracts.
Sure.
I do that, but I'm not a big heavy supplement guy. I've been very supplemented out from 6 years of just pounding my body with crazy supplements. So what I am gonna do, since I've been off the wagon for a little bit, where I've been a lot laxer than I have been in the last 10, 12 years, I'm gonna do one of those blood tests, which can a proper it's a full spectrum blood test that can kind of, instead of me just shooting a buckshot and just spreading, like trying to guess what I need, I'm gonna do a proper test to see what I want, because I could take this for this, take this, and then now I'm taking 60 supplements and I'm not doing any good because I don't know what I need. So I need to do a proper test to see what I need, and that's what I'm gonna base it on.
What about your sleeping now? How often do you sleep now?
Well, I'm a farmer, so I don't
how
sleep
many
well.
do you need? How many hours do you need?
I can sleep well on 5 to 6 hours. 6 hours I'm good. I can function on 5, but it's not good. I want to get back to doing 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep in the right time zones, between 10 and 2 a.m. It's the best time for the sleep. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. Those are the best times to sleep. If I can get back on that rhythm, that would be ideal for me. And then, once we get our kitchen up and running, I can get back on heavy juicing, because we don't have time. The second I wake up, I'm out here and we got stuff happening. You know what I mean? So it's just constant like this, and I need that wind down time. So I miss that.
In closing, and by the way, everybody, this is the farm right here,
Gratitude Garden.
Farm, and that's the website is what?
GratitudeGardenFarm.com.
It's amazing. I'm going to put a link to a video I did here previously of the farm and everything they got going on here. Absolutely amazing. So, in closing, knowing what you know now, if you had to go back to the situation when you got diagnosed with cancer, would you have still done everything the way you've done it, considering you're here now doing okay, or would you have went straight like to Hippocrates? What would you have done different with what you know now, the knowledge you know now?
I mean, I ask myself that question all the time, but that one's a tricky one. It happened the way it happened because that's the way it was supposed to happen. I believe that with me. Now, you know, I can't. Everyone else's journey is their journey. That's something that I've also learned. So what worked for me isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else. So I've learned that also. And trying to push them in certain directions that's not a good place to be. They have to find it out. So what I do typically is I direct them to a few different resources. You know, you being one, and then Chris Beat Cancer, that website. I like that one because he interviews a lot of people that have healed themselves of stage 3 and stage 4 cancers. I don't know if you're familiar with his website.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know his diet protocol very well, but I'm sure it's similar to raw foods. It's high raw probably. But I do direct people to that site because there's a lot of good, you know, protocols. But I would definitely try something prior to going into chemo and radiation and operations if you can. Don't be rushed in and fear-mongered into something, but have a plan. Don't just go in there like, oh, I'm going to be okay and I'm just going to do what No, you need to have a plan and then go for it and then track it. But first thing I would do is ask yourself why you got it in the first place. That's the first thing I would do. And then if it is something that you believe is emotional or spiritual or whatever it may be, bad marriage, loss of a loved one, feeling that you're stuck, trapped in your life, I would work on that before anything else. That is the most important part, in my opinion. Once you do that, then you blast your body with superfoods and detoxing and herbs and all that stuff. But that's the first step, for sure.
One of the first questions I ask people when I counsel them that have disease, one of the first questions is what do you do for a living? And they tell me, and I say, from a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love your job?
Yeah.
Or how much do you hate your job?
Yeah.
And depending on that answer, I say no matter what you do physically, unless you change that, you're always going to be in a disease state.
100%. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening with me at the time when I got sick. I was working a job I hated. Oh, Kingston.
So, can you ever see yourself under any circumstances consuming meat again in your whole life?
Probably not. I really don't. I probably can't. My wife would kill me, number one. Number two, I don't see a need for it.
And you don't miss it at all?
I mean, listen, it was one of my favorite, my favorite dish was steaks. I love meat so much, I couldn't even tell you. You can ask my wife, she'll tell you. But no, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I'm a rehabilitated carnivore, I like to say. I have a sticker on the back of my truck that said rehabilitated carnivore. It's quite funny. Yeah, so I don't eat. I would definitely not eat any meats at all. No.
Now,
not any red meats.
There's you and I got motivated to change our diet.
Yeah.
The carnivore diet's become more popular today than ever before. Some people are just eating exclusively meat.
Sure.
And it seems to be popular. I mean, do you have a warning for anyone doing that, or do you think, hey, if everything else in life is going okay, they can get away with it?
Well, I think their kidneys are going to shut down eventually if they keep doing that. I mean, high protein, super high protein diet is not good for your kidneys. I mean, I'm not a doctor by any means, but I learned that part. I mean, that was, definitely, that's why a lot of bodybuilders have kidney failure, because they're pounding all these protein shakes and protein. Now, meats, obviously, if they're, if you're shooting a deer or something wild, I mean, obviously it's better than the factory farmed animal that's being pumped with hormones, for sure. But are we designed to eat that? I don't know. I don't think so.
No,
So,
we're not.
I know.
mean,
But I'm just saying you have a lot of. I'm not trying to spark debates here. I'm just saying, there's a lot of people that believe that we are meant to be here, and animals are here for us to eat. There's
Sure.
people that truly believe that. People of all religion believe that. So,
Sure.
it depends on. It depends on where your viewpoint is on
Two
that.
of my popular models is, one of them is, just because you can get away with doing something doesn't mean it's healthy for you.
Sure.
And the other one is, when people ask me about what they should do, I say, do what works for you.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
But when I look at this, there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I 100% agree with you on that. Just because you're alive, it doesn't mean you couldn't thrive. If you're eating the right stuff, but I lived to 85. This person lived to 80. My dad lived to 83 years old, and he was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and he was drinking and taking. As a doctor, he was taking pills. God knows how many pills he took a day, and he lived to 83. He's like, oh, see, I'm like, yeah, but what if he didn't? What if he didn't do that? How long would he have lived?
Yeah.
Maybe he would have hit 95. Who knows? So. He just has he had good genetics, I guess. I don't know how he did it. He was a medical mystery. I always told him he was a medical mystery.
One of my best friends was eating a raw food diet, and he got a brain tumor. And he was in his late 30s, and he died a year later by going to medical convention. But I question in the optimistic way, well, if he wasn't eating raw, how much earlier in life would he have gotten something like that? Possibly.
Yeah, but don't forget, it doesn't matter if he's eating raw. If he's in fight or flight, raw isn't going to save him.
Exactly. There's many other aspects of health in his diet.
100%, because I couldn't figure that out. I could not figure that puzzle out. And then it all made sense when I started to, because I've, like yourself, Paul, I've spoken to a lot of people with cancer, because they call me, they're like, how are you alive? Tell me. So they want to know. So I would tell them everything I did, but then, some people would make it, some people wouldn't, a lot of people wouldn't make it, and I was just like, okay, so what is the common denominator? Like, why are some people eating raw but not making it? I don't understand. They should be getting out of this. Why aren't they getting better? And then I realized it's a lot, they're not working on the emotional, spiritual side. They're just eating raw foods and they think they're going to heal themselves. I'm like, no, it's not a magic bullet. It's not a magic bullet. Every person is a different case. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own journey. And some people don't want to take that journey. My mom, at one point, when she got diagnosed with what she got, and I knew exactly what it was, I told her right away, Mom, you know what this is, right? We both know what this is, She did not want to tackle it. She did not want to emotionally tackle what was happening. She did not want to do it. She kept sweeping it under the rug, I'm like, Mom, we got to work on your emotion fit. She's like, I'm taking this. I'm like, it doesn't, you got to work on, and then I realized it's like, it's her journey. It's her journey, so I can't put my foot down or force anyone to do anything. And that was probably the hardest thing for me, to watch my mom and my father slip away when I couldn't do anything about it.
Anger and unforgiveness will kill more people than many things. The negative emotions will destroy people, but it's but it's you have a lot of wisdom, and you definitely, a pessimist would look at a disease as a negative thing, but an optimist would look at it as a wake-up call.
Sure.
And
I like
what you're doing today. You're helping so many people, not just with the wisdom you just shared, but by your amazing farm. And I'm going to put the link below to his farm and what he's doing. It's absolutely amazing. So I thank you. Anything else you want to share before we close?
No, I mean, I'd like to say this one line, and I believe Crispy Cancer, he uses it too, but I love this line. And it was like, it was like a divine tap on, when I got ill, it was like a divine tap on my shoulder to let me know I was going in the wrong direction. And that's what it is. It's like a warning. It's like letting you, the illness was like a warning, like, hey, you're not dead yet, but if you keep going, this is where you're going, so switch your ways. And that's what it was. It was like redirection. So so listen to those signs and be aware and mindful, and live your best life. And like you said, Paul, I mean, if you're not enjoying your work, I mean, we're not here very long. We're really not. It goes like this, and at any moment it could be taken from you. So you might as well be doing what you love to do, and create the life that you want, because no one's going to just hand you the life that you want.
Yep. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'll put
Welcome.
your information below here if people
Thanks,
want to
brother.
contact you. And thank you. All right, everybody. There it was. When I interview people, I even learn stuff, and I've learned stuff from this and pondered this always. Never stop thinking. And like Joseph said in the interview, keeping the carrot in front of you. And I'm always thinking of how I can improve or do better. And as happy as I am, how I could be happier and how I could have more joy. And I used to say when I worked at a job, you know, if you look forward to your vacation, that job's not the right job for you.
Nope.
Because that's not a good thing. And I love what I do for a living now that I don't like when I can't do it. If I go, I don't like a vacation now. I love what I do.
When I go on vacation, I just want to come back.
All I think about is that.
I want to come back.
Such great information, and you know, like we both agree with, do what's working for you, but understand we got to strive for better and not just settle. So thank you very much for this, and I'll put his information below, and check out his farm. I'll put a link to that video as well. Until then, everybody have a great day and a great raw life.